Hey guys, my name is Amy, and today we're gonna be building Skibbity Toilet in real life. I'm gonna have 100 randomly picked subscribers fight this Skibbity Toilet to the death, and whoever comes out unscathed and alive after fighting this Skibbity Toilet is gonna win $1 million.
Well, not really, but that's what I'm going to be talking about today. The issue I'll be tackling is that the quality of children's entertainment on YouTube is on a rapid decline. In fact, it has hit rock bottom, and I believe that it is negatively affecting our youth. Now, before I start, I'd like to warn everyone that I may bring up some sensitive topics and potentially disturbing pictures or video clips. I also warn you that this video will contain some very annoying video clips, so viewer discretion is advised. Now, I know what everyone might say. Oh, Amy, YouTube has never been a place for kids. Amy, the internet is bad for children, yada yada yada. And yes, you are correct. YouTube has never really been a place for children. I would know, I wasn't always super supervised during my YouTube time as a child, but I do also know that YouTube used to have a pretty good amount of child-friendly content. To give a brief history of what we're talking about here, there were lots of things like toy reviews and make-believe stories, as well as video game let's plays of games like Minecraft and Roblox. These were usually child-friendly depending on who you were watching, but yes, there were some pretty bad videos on early YouTube. I can very easily recall some very disturbing videos and concepts that I was able to come across on YouTube as a child. Some of which include the YouTube series Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared, which is a short horror series that looked as if it was made for children, but upon watching it, I was quick to find out that it wasn't. There was also My Little Pony gore videos, and the early days of Five Nights at Freddy's franchise, which most videos consisted of talking about the murder of multiple children, which as a child myself, I really should not have been watching. But going back to more wholesome children's content, I also watched channels like Dan2DM, who did fun Minecraft videos, Dr. Slime and Cookie Swirl C, who did things like toy reviews, FGTV, who is a family who played video games and did vlogs, and all of these were just fun videos for children. While yes, they did seem immature and annoying at times, they do not at all compare to the sort of content that we see on YouTube now. Along with these channels, there was also the issue of ElsaGate. ElsaGate is the name of a huge problem that took place on YouTube in the 2010s. At first glance, these videos don't seem all too harmful, but for many, the problem was visible from the very beginning in the thumbnails. They usually consisted of bright colors and copyrighted characters that were popular with children at the time, usually being Elsa, Spider-Man, Mickey Mouse, Minnie Mouse, and many more. This wouldn't be wrong, but the content of these thumbnails was usually very disturbing. They often consisted of imagery of needles, pregnancy, feet, feces, and much more. But usually, children aren't going to notice the content that is seen in the thumbnail besides the bright colors and their favorite characters, so young children, of course, are bound to click on these videos. These videos were always very cheaply done and known to be on foreign channels, so they're suspected to be from content farms. The videos usually consisted of the copyrighted favorite characters to be A, played by people in cheap costumes, B, animated on cheap flash animation, or C, in Play-Doh stop motion. The videos always consisted of something particularly disturbing or inappropriate, whether it was pregnancy of one of the characters, needles and drugs, feces and farts, something feet-related, or just something weird or violent in general. These videos were never ever known to be normal. In short, these videos were basically fetish content. They were created to make money, but they also brought pedophiles into the scene. On many of these videos, people were commenting in a sort of code, and sadly, the people in this ring were able to use the code to find more disturbing and pedophilic content on the hidden depths of YouTube. Once parents of young children and the whole of YouTube caught wind of this, YouTube quickly went into action to combat this sort of content on YouTube. In late 2017, YouTube announced a new set of rules that would be set in place, and they worked to delete channels that made this sort of content. They made it so YouTube videos that were made for children were more heavily supervised. YouTube also turned off the comments for these videos, and they made it so one could not put them into a playlist, which is another issue that was happening with this sort of content. These videos are now very hard to come across on YouTube. In fact, it's nearly impossible. Now, why did I talk about all of this, and why is it important? Well, this was all the start of YouTube content for children going entirely downhill, and that in YouTube combating it, there arose more issues with children's content, which although is not marketed as children's content per YouTube's request, it still is aimed towards them. I also talk about all this because ElsaGate never really left, it's just in a new font now. Firstly, to stay on the topic of ElsaGate, it is changed now, but it's still definitely present on YouTube. These newer videos often contain very similar content to what the old ones did, the only change being that this content is now made centered around a different cast of characters. Around 2020, when the Friday Night Funkin' craze arose, these videos consisted of the characters' boyfriend and girlfriend. They would also consist of the little dudes from Among Us and the characters from the new hit children's horror game, Poppy's Playtime. This game arose from the mascot horror craze that followed after the Five Nights at Freddy's success, but that's a topic for another day. These new Elsagate-like videos tend to fly under the radar, as they are no longer labeled as children's content. They just display characters that children like, so therefore they click on them. One of these channels is called Kissy Show, which consists of the characters Huggy Wuggy and Kissy Missy from the Poppy's Playtime games. In these shorts, Kissy Missy is in a sort of revealing and provocative clothing, and the shorts contain a lot of bathroom humor and such. It's very clear while watching these shorts that is in fact still fetish content, same as the Elsagate videos back in 2016. Now, that content usually takes victims of a younger audience, usually children from like 4 to 8. But there's another sort of content on YouTube that's aimed at a slightly older audience that isn't as disturbing, but is definitely as bad to be watching as the Elsagate content. This sort of content doesn't seem to have an official name, but it tends to attack kids from probably 8 to 12. It is often centered around the latest internet trends, but what is really stuck is content of and based around a thing called Skibbity Toilet, the Backrooms, the SCP Foundation, and more. Now, what's the issue with this content? One of the biggest issues, to be brutally honest, is mostly that this content is extremely annoying, but that's not what we're here to cover today. These sort of videos don't even try to seem good or educational. They are mind-numbing and usually pretty violent. One of the main content for these videos is Skibbity Toilet, which is an ongoing YouTube series that surrounds a war between toilet people and the men with cameras for heads. Being in a war of sorts, this content promotes violence to children who watch it. The videos portray a lot of fighting and especially gun violence. As well as this, although not as dangerous, the toilet men sing a really annoying song that is in complete gibberish, that any child who watches this content consistently can usually be heard singing the tune.
Oh, help me please, bye.
As well as this content, a lot of horror content has been changed and transformed to be used for children. One of these things is the Backrooms, which was a little internet tale which is now turned into a convoluted story run by people who use it to make content for children. The Backrooms are said to be where people go when they no-clip out of reality. It's a place where there's no escape and it's just yellow carpet, stained walls, and buzzing overhead lights that stretch down corridors for miles. It was fun and interesting, but it's been changed into something with hundreds of levels, monsters, and it's aimed at children often on YouTube because it's what's trending on their feeds. The issue with this one is also that it's violent and horror-based, and although not particularly scary, it isn't the sort of content that children should be shown so often. It's unsettling and disturbing in some ways, especially the horror aspects of it being grotesque creatures hunting one down, and it's definitely something that should be kept to an older audience instead of children who take the fun out of it. Another different issue with the YouTube content now is the YouTubers who make content that is aimed at children in a certain way that is not showing the child anything of any value at all. A lot of this is something I see in gaming content, where the videos are created in a certain way with lots of colors and moving visuals and loud sounds, as well as the narrator being loud and annoying themselves.
I got myself in big trouble, and I have to find a way to escape. But every time I do, Barry and his friends catch me and throw me back in jail.
It's also always someone way older than the age that they should be making this kind of content, which is aimed at little kids. Isn't that a little weird? Anyways, this content is particularly harmful to the younger audience because it harms their attention span. These videos are engineered to keep the kids watching with the colors and the sound and the loudspeaker, but it actually has no substance at all. The child watching it is not retaining any information. Rather, they're just watching it because it looks fun, and the YouTubers that make this content know this. They make it like this so that they get a ton of views. They take advantage of the child's eye for loud visuals. These sort of YouTubers also tend to create clickbait content as well, Like a video could be called, "I survived alone in an ocean for a week," and the content creator's actually just playing in their pool. Or the video is called, "I cured blindness," and it's actually a guy who just paid for some people's prescription glasses. They also always have thumbnails that are heavily edited to follow this narrative. Clickbait content like this tends to attract children, and that's where lots of YouTubers get their money. So, in the end, I believe that since the beginning of YouTube, there has always been bad apples, but in the last 8 years, the content on the platform has gone down rapidly in quality, mostly the content that is aimed at children. This content is potentially harmful to young and impressionable minds, and this is solely for the sake of money. Children are easy to take advantage of, and YouTubers do that just to get rich. It's really easy to make bad content, but make it look interesting for the simple young mind. Thank you for taking the time out of your day to listen to me talk.